Thomas à Kempis, fire trieth iron, and temptation a just man. The temptation or affliction is relative to the strength of the person. Einstein said that everything was relative. He was speaking of the fabric of this world and the phenomenon called by names like interconnectivity and entanglement. Stuff is connected at the quantum level, at the very tiniest level of matter. Now, if God is everywhere and he's all-powerful, and he is, why aren't our lives free of temptation and afflictions? It's an old story. The human race brought affliction upon itself when it sinned in the garden. And whilst Jesus has taken the eternal penalty for our sin on the cross, the afflictions in this world remain for a number of reasons. The foremost being to teach us a deeper reliance upon his grace, to make his presence dear to us, something that we shall take into eternity with us. And when we see him face to face, he won't be entirely unfamiliar to us. There will be more of everything, but much that is familiar as a result of our walk with him down here. Afflictions are an essential element in our maturing, and as such, there is nothing arbitrary about them. They are not the result of haphazard chance. In other words, God oversees our afflictions. He is the final authority, if you like. Our afflictions are relative to our characters. God is refining us the way gold is purified, to the point of perfectly reflecting the image of the purifier. The fires of affliction are not pleasant, but they bring the impurities to the surface, unless, heaven forbid, we lose faith and start thinking that our afflictions are meaningless, just bad luck, just a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Satan even convinces some that they are being punished because God is angry with them. The devil is a cruel robber. Our afflictions are perfectly suited to our characters. They are relative, and the rewards for overcoming are also relative. The reward will be relative to the difficulty that we experience. The steeper the incline of our difficulties, the greater will be the rewards for patiently enduring. Now, this makes obvious sense. A soldier doesn't receive awards for actions on the parade ground, for saluting according to the book, but for doing something special on the battlefield. His rewards are relative to the troubles that he faced, the difficulties that he's faced, the self-sacrifices that he had to make. Struggle and reward are interconnected. That should be a great encouragement to us. It's not easy carrying our load sometimes, and God knows it. He sees us and is willing us to keep faith and not lose heart. I do not pray for a lighter load, writes Philip's books, but for a stronger back. Because our sufferings are relative to our characters, you may look at my afflictions and the things that test me and wonder what all the fuss is about, and I may look at yours and think the same. It's unwise for us to compare sufferings and think that we are good judges, because we're not. We're in God's school of experience, and he knows what he's doing. Our tests are tailor-made. Now, we've previously considered that Jesus, for instance, was invited to rule the entire world and sort its problems out. All he'd have to do was compromise his integrity. Although his temptations were on a much higher plane than ours, suited to his nature, the pattern is exactly the same for all of us. A choice is presented by which we either resist the temptation and so weaken the flesh and strengthen the spirit, or we yield to the temptation and strengthen the flesh and weaken the spirit. The degree of death in one area is directly related to the degree of life in the other. It says that Jesus returned from the tempting in the wilderness in the power of the Spirit. Luke 4:14. When they asked Michelangelo how he produced such beautiful figures, such as angels, from a shapeless chunk of marble, he said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." God is the Master Craftsman, and the temptations and afflictions of life are his hammer and chisel by which, when we trust him, he sets us free. May God help us to keep our eye on our destination, even when we are struggling through the brambles of life. and to know the hand that shapes us is love.